Welcome to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein, talking about the evolutionary, the revolutionary, the inspiration and the perspiration, and those aha moments that change everything. And now here's your host, Rich Goldstein.
Rich Goldstein here, host of the Innovations and Breakthroughs podcast, where I feature top leaders and the path they took to create change. Past guests include Joe Polish, Roland Frazier, and Joe DeSena. This episode is brought to you by my company, Goldstein Patent Law, where we help you to protect your ideas and products. We've advised and obtained patents for thousands of companies over the past 26 years. So if you're a company that has software, a product, or a design you want protected, go to goldsteinpatentlaw.com, where there are amazing free resources for learning about the patent process. And you could email my team at welcome@goldsteinpc.com to explore if this match to work together. You can also check out the book I wrote for the American Bar Association that explains in plain English how patents work. It's called the ABA Consumer Guide to Obtaining a Patent. I have with me here today Vanessa Braxton. Vanessa is the founder of Black Momma Brands, which includes, let me say that again. Vanessa is the founder of Black Momma Brands, which includes tea, agave, and of course, Black Momma Vodka. Vanessa Braxton is the first African-American woman master blender, distiller, owner, and operator of a nationally distributed vodka in the United States. With a background in construction engineering and management, before launching Black Momma, Vanessa managed construction and engineering contracts worth over $350 million for New York State government. And she is deeply involved in real estate investment and helping other Black-owned businesses. It's my pleasure to welcome Vanessa Braxton. Welcome, Vanessa.
Oh, thank you for having me, Rich. Appreciate you contacting me.
Yeah, my pleasure. I mean, so much fun to have you on here. And again, as we were talking about, we met on Clubhouse, and we've spent time together hanging out in rooms there. And like, it's great to be able to connect this way and to get to more of your story, which I think is just a fascinating one.
Is this the life I lead?
This is the life we chose, or something like that, right?
Right.
So you're from Brooklyn?
Born and raised.
What part?
East Flatbush. East Flatbush. My parents, they were immigrants to this country from Guyana. So I'm first generation born here. So first generation here, which is good. Me and my sister and my brother. So they came in the 60s. So that just tell you, I'm not a spring chicken.
Yeah, neither am I. I think we're on about the same par with that, but we don't need to say anything about numbers specific on that, right?
Look, I still look good. Look.
Yeah, I think so. But let's see.
Thank you.
So you started out, so you started out though, like by studying engineering. So you studied engineering at Pratt, as you were showing me, like your sweatshirt today.
I'm a Pratt alumni. I graduated in 92 from Pratt.
Nice.
In construction management and, civil engineering. Very few minorities or Black women do engineering, back then.
Absolutely.
It was hard to find a job in engineering, even back then.
Yeah.
But I lucked out. I worked for the MTA, New York City Transit Authority. I came in as an engineer intern, and I pretty much had my career there going up the ladder with working in engineering and construction. I was also the only Black female resident engineer overseeing construction contracts out of 77,000 employees. I rebuilt South Street Ferry right after 9/11. I had Fulton Street Transit Center, was part of my project. So, I have an extensive background in science, engineering, construction, structural, and I still do side work every now and then. I do it for my projects, for my real estate. We could talk about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I married a mechanical engineer I went to college with, my husband.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we were talking a little bit before about how engineering runs in the family.
Yes.
And then literally in your family surrounded by engineers. That's like my family too.
Yeah, absolutely. But I got a big secret.
Oh yeah.
So I used to make liquor on campus.
Oh, okay. So before it was
At
a
school.
thing, before it was a thing, it was a thing.
You're a starving student. So they were talking about, in 87, 86, when you have these parties. I'm
Yeah.
sure right? Back in the day. So, you
So,
know,
so you had some distillery equipment going then.
per se, I took a lot of stuff from the science lab.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
But,
Some
we're
flasks,
engineers.
some Bunsen burners, and then before you know it, you've got something that up there in the proof, right?
Well, yeah, you got to make
Bunch
your
of stages,
mash.
right? Uh-huh.
Yep, you got to make your mash. I'll never forget the time I was trying to get like the whole team, everybody to chip in. It's like 30 people chipping in, and we got like $1.34, like $1.34 out of 30 people to chip in. What can I do with this? We're in college. We don't have any money.
Yeah, that was in college. Like, remember, like just separate, but like ordering pizza. Like, and it's like, okay, what's going on to pizza? Well, I've got $1.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need like another $7 plus another one for a tip. So who else wants to go in
Right.
for $1 to get a slice? Or whatever.
Right. But
Mhm.
we used to have parties on campus. This is 34 years ago.
Right. So we're
And
safe to talk about it now. Like,
I don't know. Yeah, I've donated
yeah,
enough money to the school.
right. Uh-huh.
But I've always wanted to make things better, and I've always been that type of person. My father studied mechanical engineering as well, but he ended up going to the stock market. And my grandfather, my mother's father, was an architect and builder for 38 years. So that has always been in my blood, I can say. And I never wanted to be an engineer, but my father said, "You were going to be an engineer." And I said, "No." And I ended up getting into engineering because I wanted to be a forensic scientist like Quincy.
Oh,
Remember
I
Quincy?
used to love that show.
I did too. And
Yeah.
I wanted to be a forensic scientist until I figured out I can't stand blood. And my guidance counselor said, "Well, you got all the sciences. I guess you can do engineering." I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh my God." So
Right.
my father was right after all.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that awful when that's the case?
I know, but
Yeah.
God rest his soul. It's been. I love engineering even to this day with what I do, even with creating formulas. Because believe it or not, being in the beverage industry or anything that we do in life requires an engineer. It requires some sort of calculation to begin. And
Yeah.
if and that because
Hmm.
you're an engineer. And just for the first step, you can't do anything today without an engineer.
Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
so I need more people to realize that. Same thing with construction and engineering. So it it's always going to be in my life no matter what I do.
Yeah.
And I realize
It's
that
a part of you. It's a
yeah,
part of you. It's a part of the way you look at the world. It's like the lens of an engineer. It's kind of like they say the same thing about the law is like thinking like a lawyer, or like that you look at the world through that lens. Um,
right, absolutely.
it was funny. There was this story they had us read in the beginning of law school that Mark Twain wrote that was all about kind of like when you're working on a riverboat, kind of like when you see the water a certain way, you know that it's shallow there, or you know that there's a current, or like basically after like after piloting riverboats and working on a riverboat for a long period of time, you'll never see the water the same way. Like you'll
Yeah,
always see it through that lens. And like I think the metaphor they were trying to make is like the study of law is like once you begin to see things that way, you'll always see it that way. And like so, like it's part of you is like this way of looking at things, right? Looking
yep,
at things as an engineer, and also
yep,
looking at things of like, as you said earlier, how can I make it better?
yep. And I think that's what's the duty of the industry in what we do.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yep,
know, so for
absolutely.
me, that's the good thing. And then from construction of doing that, I worked for the MTA, and The MTA is Metropolitan Transit Authority. You're probably familiar with it, the big
Right. But for
agency.
the rest of our listeners who don't have all of the New York jargon down, yeah, MTA is the transit system.
Yeah,
Huge organization in New York.
World renowned.
Yes.
It is. But
right.
I did that and for 20 years, and then I was also the vice president of they had a trade association, not a union, but the Conference of Minority Transportation Officials for New York State, which included, train, planes, and automobile transit. I was the vice president for business development in trying to help more minorities to get these government contracts at the MTA and other agencies, and help represent New York and minorities and women-owned in that position. They elected me into that position, and just to try to help as many people as I can. But I had to leave after I hit my 20 years. I was like, I'm out of there. I got to go.
Right. Got it. Well, that's another lens right there too. Business development, vice president, business development. I mean, that's another lens at looking at the world and looking at opportunities and looking at where there's value to be created and how do you connect with people around value. So that's another piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
in your world, right?
Yeah, it definitely was. And that was the Conference of Minority Transportation Officials. I still was an MTA employee. I still had to do my job overseeing construction. And then I was the vice president. Just think about like your union
Right.
of this trade organization for all of New York State, where you still had to deal with, the transportation board and the governor and all of that, just so minority and women-owned, businesses can come into doing business with the agencies. That's how I was involved with the Barclay Center. Looking at it, in terms of what goes on today, I was involved with the Barclay Center of trying to forge a relationship between private industry, public industry, with minority and women-owned companies to get on that project. So that was like one of my last projects. And, you see that today with having diversity in different verticals, whether it's, beverage, whether it's financial, law industry. It's just so many areas that there's opportunities, even in business,
Right.
with getting in and having diversity.
Well, absolutely. Then there's tons of opportunity, and I guess that's the thing, is to level the playing field and get people like minorities, especially, able to pursue those opportunities or have them be real opportunities to them as well.
I feel the playing field, and maybe I'm biased, but as an engineer, I feel for me, even though I'm a woman, I'm a Black woman, as you can see. The playing field is level because the information is there in terms of accessing the information.
Right.
Now, what do you do with the information? That's the key.
So is it kind of more your interest is empowering people to feel that they can take advantage of these opportunities?
Yes, but they have to do their research. They have to do your research, do your due diligence. A lot of times people want the Wikipedia, like on Wikipedia. Right. Oh, I want to start a beverage. I want to start a liquor company. Can you help me? No, do your research. Right. I can help you to a certain degree, but when you come to the table and you just want me to hand it to you, I didn't birth you.
Right.
I go through that with my children, and they don't even they got to go and do their research.
Right. Exactly.
So the information is out there. It is for everyone to take the opportunity and learn. Now, everybody's learning capability is very different. I get that. Some people want visuals, and that works. But it's the same thing with now. Everybody's trying to get their generational wealth. The information is there now. When you and I went to college, we didn't have internet.
That's
in
true.
1987, I had a Macintosh.
Right. You had those like Back then, it must have been like a Mac or a Mac Plus or a Mac SE at the best.
Right. And the year before in 86, we were doing Fortran. Remember that?
Yep. Formula translation.
Right. So
Fortran.
have, so
What it stands for, really?
yeah,
Yeah.
it is. But I'm sure no one.
You know what COBOL stands for?
Oh no, I don't know what COBOL stands for. I did that too.
Common Oriented Business Language. The
No
CO
way.
is Common Oriented Business Language. Anyway, that's like some computer geeky stuff right there. I was like, what the COBOL, Fortran, anyway, that's just
I was still on DOS. Remember DOS?
like MS-DOS, yeah. Mm-hmm. Right.
Or the Lang network. Oh my God, we're going back. W Lang.
Right. Absolutely. But no, I was studying engineering around the same time. It was the same type thing. There was no internet. There was dial-up connections, and but just to individual sites. It's not like anything was connected. And the research we had to do in the library pretty much. There was no electronic place to do research.
No.
Yeah,
and then the World Wide Web opened up and then the gentleman started that, which is a beautiful thing. And that's what I used to, as well as my education, to do my research. I love researching and developing new things. And I think that's what's got me here later on in my life. I wish I had that. I had the internet when I was 18 years old. Oh my God, you guys would be in trouble.
Right. And new to invest in Google, right? Like that in itself. So how did you take your background in construction management and in supporting people to find these opportunities and then move into creating the Black Momma brands? Tell me about that journey.
Well, I retired. I'm retired now from engineering and construction management, working for someone since 2009. So I had started in 1989 and I worked at 2009. And so since then, what I've done is consulting, and I use my science background no matter what. We always, think about it, we always have to do calculations.
Right.
And my husband and I moved to California in 2011. He got a chief job with Parsons Brinkhoff, PB, which is now WSP. And me being retired and in California, I always wanted to have a liquor brand. I wanted to do tequila at first when I was living in New York. But then I looked at it and I was like, life happened, my mother-in-law was sick and it was just so much going on and it just wasn't the opportunity. But being that I was, sitting there in Valencia, California.
With all the oranges.
Right? Oh, look, this Valencia don't look like Valencia oranges. This whole area in West Ranch is like completely different in California. And a friend of mine, someone that I know that's in the industry, also an engineer who owned the distillery. I guess the engineers want to be in the brewery industry. Said, hey, I got this distillery, and I know you're an engineer. We're engineers. I'm doing a couple of things. I said, you know what? Let me come over there and check you out. And he was in Oregon, Bend, Oregon. Joe, I love Joe, all of those guys. And what I did, I got a DBA partner with them to help them because they were working on their brand. And then I said, well, I'll start my brand and I'll invest in doing that and then doing contract management, with them. And that's how I got into it. I said, you know what? I'll have my own liquor. I'll blend it. I'll use the facility, and that's how we all learned. We all made mistakes.
Yep. But now
make sure you have the pressure relief valve on that still.
Oh, well,
you don't have an explosion.
Well, the distilling part is something that you did for many years, right? At that, at that point, as you mentioned earlier, you had
Bootleg.
bootlegging, so the tech part you had down. But talk about launching the brand and like actually creating a brand out there.
Well, you know what? When I created Black Momma Vodka, God honest truth, we were drunk. So it was 6 of us, I swear. We was playing a spades game. Every Friday night, me and my husband, a couple of friends after work, we drink, Kettle One vodka. That was my favorite vodka until my own. And we always played spades Friday night by the pool. That's what you do in California and in Valencia.
When you're retired.
When you're retired. Oh, my husband still worked, he provided for the family, right?
But he got home and he had to catch up.
Right, and I made sure the drinks were there. As soon as he came home from the pool, all he had to come home. He still had his tie and everything on, and drinks were ready.
Right, loosening the tie with one hand, drinking.
Yes, it's your martini, honey.
Right,
and we always had these games, and which was, at some point, and when people hear this, whoever know me, they're gonna remember, like, oh my God, every Friday night and Saturday night was with the Braxtons. Pool, drinks, food, and everyone was taking next. That's something that we do in our community. Play spades. We played spades. Some of these spades games would get really, really rough, but thank goodness we had the drinks. And one time we had a game last till 5 o'clock in the morning Saturday, whereas we couldn't call a winner, and we continued the game 11 o'clock a.m. that Saturday morning. We went home, got sleep, and everybody came to our place, and we started the game. And that's when I said to myself, I said, you know what? I'm going to start this liquor brand. I'm going to call it Black Momma Vodka. And he was like, okay, that's what you want, honey. I said, look, I'm Black. I'm the mama. I make the vodka. That's what it's going to do.
And besides, it's 11 a.m. and we're out of vodka. So I got to do something.
Right. Our friends came over, and we talk about this to this day. I kid you not, we hadn't sobered up yet, because, we were drinking till 5 a.m.
No
this
need.
is like college day, right? And we're playing this game, and I said,
right. I mean, you're not building bridges anymore. So
no, I'm retired. We're going to get into
exactly. Right.
And I said, I wanted an upside down heart. I think it was the spades game or whatever the hell we were drinking. Somebody smoking something. I'm leaving
probably, yeah. California, right?
Yeah, I don't smoke.
Right.
I'm a drinker. And we had literally, during that game, on a napkin, I have it to this day, my husband drew the heart, he's like, make it an upside down, make it like a woman's behind with a tramp stamp on it. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. What's the tramp stamp? And he's like, oh, that tattoo you have on the back of your, the back of your thing.
Right.
I said, I don't have a tattoo on the back of my thing. So what the
right. That's someone else's tramp stamp.
Right.
That's some tramp who's got that stamp.
Well, he said, that's what I heard. Right. That's what I heard. That's what they call it. That's where you put out. Okay. But, he drew it out. Then they all jumped, oh, why don't you turn it upside down? And he was literally born in that 20 minutes of all of us either being drunk or smoking a beautiful design, as you see on the bottle, Black Momma Vodka. Nice. And I didn't have to hire anybody.
All right. Well, okay. So then let's talk about launching it though. Like, how did so you decided you're going to do this, and obviously how to distill and
and blend, because you don't just distill. You got to take the 195 proof and proof it down and blend it. You
195 proof. That's like moonshine there, right?
Well, when it comes out 200 proof. You want to be able to have 192 to 200 proof, because that's what's coming out in neutral grain spirit. So then you got to use a hydrometer, and you got to proof it down and blend it with whatever you want to blend with. That's the secret, so that way you have the heart of the liquor. But yes, once you've done all of that, just thinking about it, once you do it and you bottle it, you launch the brand. You know what launching the brand is? Getting into a store.
Yeah. Well, that's really what I'm getting at. Is like, so then you got it. You could distill
Getting it
You
into
know how
the
to-
store.
you can bottle it. So then how did you actually get it out there? How did you get the word out and get people buying
No,
the product?
it's not just the social media,
Uh-huh.
but back then in 2012, 2013, I launched it February of 2013. I had a party to launch the brand. I had Big Daddy Kane come, and we had a lot of friends that came to, was it the Hard Rock? It was a Hard Rock Cafe. I can't even remember now, but it was a big club in LA that was packed and everybody was trying to get in. So, you have your launch brand, which was really good, but even if you launch it, you got to have clients,
Mm-hmm.
just like anything else. It's great to have the hoopla, that's for our sake. But the true meaning of launching the brand is when you're collecting a check and it's on the shelves. And what I did, thank goodness for Mr. Thiel, Albertsons became my first client. Albertsons supermarket
Wow.
in California.
That's big.
Yeah, I realized how big that was. And when you can't, when you got like 10 cases, you putting in your truck and you're taking it to the Albertsons. But what I did, you know what? And I had to use my little head. I went to Albertsons. I would go to Albertsons every day because I lived across the street from it. And they knew me. I went to the general manager and I asked him, I said, listen, I'm launching, this liquor, Black Momma Vodka. You guys carry liquor. I can sell direct in California with my license.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, sure, we know you, Miss Braxton. You're in here spending money all the time.
Right.
Right? That's the key. I said, oh, that's so nice. He said, before you think you can bring it, you got to go to our head office and meet with Mr. Wu. I can't even remember his name. But he set up the appointment for me. And I went to the main office. I brought the vodka with me. He didn't even drink it. He looked at it and he said, if Jason like you, you're in. I was like, oh, okay.
He probably just looked at it. He said, what a great name. And he still thought people will buy it. Like, I don't need to taste it because I believe that people will see it and say, like, I want to try that.
Right.
That's what I would have said.
Right. And you know what I'm thinking in my head? Oh my God, I'm going to have all these orders and the hardest, excuse my language, shit that I've ever done.
Yeah. That's when the fun begins, right? Like, be careful what you wish for with those orders, right?
Because now you got all these stores that want to order. And I'm like, okay, how do I get, it was just me. And not only that, I got to go pick up the kids from school, at 3:00.
Right.
And make sure my husband's dinner is on the table. Whatever it is, I didn't have to cook, but whatever I bought was there. But I made it work because for me, I was like, okay, I didn't have a distributor at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like July 4th or July 2nd, I remember. It was on the shelves of Albertsons. He was on the stacks of Albertsons, my first client.
What was that moment like?
Oh my
seeing
God.
your product on the shelf, seeing it right there.
It was on an end cap, stackable. It was on sale. If you buy 6 bottles, $23.99.
Mm-hmm.
It was, even though they had like maybe 15 cases or 10 cases, it was the most rewarding feeling I ever felt in the world, other than giving birth to my children. It was such a great feeling. But also, what was even greater? When my kids they were little, when my kids walked into the supermarket and saw the brand and saw it on the shelf and saw that stackable, and my daughter said, oh, what? Black Momma Vodka. She was little. Mommy, that's your bottle. It just it felt really good. And
wow, that's awesome.
My husband was like, oh, wow, I can't believe this is happening. And I'm like, oh, we're going to bring in all the money. Okay, that didn't
happen. But it was a proud moment. It was a proud moment for you, and it was a proud moment for them too.
Yes. But also, what was really good? Albertsons cut a check right away. It was good to get a check immediately when I delivered, because
rather than them saying like, well, can we have 60 days? And then like you're always behind.
no, liquor industry is the best industry in the world to get it when it comes to payment. If you don't get paid, the government will come after them and they'll lose their license. There's no 60, 90 days in liquor when you're from
awesome.
license. Oh yeah. And sometimes they have to pay up front, but in a big company like that, like Albertsons Supermarket, they were at the time decentralized. And this is what businesses should learn. Learn what their distribution tactics are. People don't think about it. Sometimes you can deal directly with the store if they're decentralized. Like you don't have to deliver directly to a distribution center. You can deliver directly to the store. And then you can, after you having that one store, they'll give you a check. They gave me a check immediately on the spot. I brought an invoice. They were like, you have the invoice? I was like, okay. I was so nervous about my invoice because I didn't know what I did a plain invoice on QuickBooks, but it didn't even matter to them.
Right. Like, does this look professional enough?
It was like, does it have the amount there? That's all that matters.
Right.
And then I got the check. I was so happy. I was just so ecstatic that I couldn't believe this was happening. So that was my greatest experience with that. And then what I did, I really learned that, all right, launching a brand, you can launch a brand. You can launch a brand in anything, but it's getting the sale. You want to be able to have a client. So when you get that one client, you want to leverage that one client to get other stores. So I started calling all the other Albertsons, and then I even asked him to call. He was like, oh, sure, contact the other general manager, I'll call him, because then they're all working in the same circle. So if I'm in his store, why not have his colleague be in his colleague's store, because then it'll be a domino effect. And so that's what I utilized. And then I got my major second client was Virginia State, not university, the whole state of Virginia. It's a control state. So Neil Ange, a nice woman, she's retired. I control states are controlled by the government, and they'll distribute your liquor for you. And I learned that. And you see why research is very important.
Yeah. You got to learn the lay of the land, and then you know how to operate in that environment. And so you learned how it worked with the different stores doing their own buying, and and that you could work that to your advantage. And you learn that certain states, they actually do the liquor distribution, and that's who you need to deal
with. State. Yeah. So, and I like the control state. The control state is controlled by the government. They are your biggest advocates for brands. They love to work with you. It's almost like a government contract, but it's not. And, it's a control state. And when you get into a store, they'll make sure it's delivered there. They wire transfer you your money. They make sure, no problems. They even have their own way. I love the control states, but a lot of people don't like dealing with the control states. And I think for me, working with the government, remember, I worked in government. So for me, it was okay to do the paperwork.
Again, you knew the lay of the land. You kind of knew how government operates, and that helped you. So it led up. It was part of the journey that led up to your success here. Those other things that you did, engineering, working in government, and of course, researching, right? And that's what helped you be successful with that. Such a great conversation. One thing I wanted to touch on is, two things. I mean, first of all, that your roots in part go back to Scotland, and you discovered that your great granddaddy was a distiller, a liquor maker.
I don't know if they called it distilling back then, but he made scotch. In Renfrewshire. Renfrewshire, Scotland.
And so, and he was someone who was an inventor and a mathematician and an engineer.
Not him.
What?
Not my great grandfather, but my aunt, like his great.
Oh, okay.
His great his grandfather in the 1600s.
Right.
Because my great
Oh, the
grandfather was in the
1600s, right.
1800s
Yes.
when he settled in Renfrewshire, Scotland, and of course he was married to, you think about it, in Guyana. I end up finding out the story that he left Guyana to move back to Scotland because he had children with a Black woman. His father was a slave owner in Guyana, Dutch Guyana. And of course, he had children with a Black woman. There wasn't the times of doing that, but she also went there, and that's what produced my grandfather.
Yeah.
And then my father. So that's how I found out about that story. And he settled in Renfrewshire, Scotland. But his father was still in Guyana. He's the governor of Essequibo. That's what it was called. The Gravesend is well known out there. They played in politics and in government. And of course, he was an African American. But
and you're honoring that legacy though by you're launching it was Gravesend is his name.
Gravesend, yeah.
Gravesend, and you're launching Gravesend Scotch.
Yes, I'm gonna have Gravesend. Yeah, to honor my great grandfather, to honor my family's name. I mean, I can't change the past, but I do have the genes. So.
And it brought you to where you are today. Like it was all part of the journey, right?
Yeah. That's amazing. And just to look up Willem Gravesend, which is our ancestor, he was the one that was inspired Isaac Newton, a mathematician, inventor, engineer. I showed it to my kids and I was like, wow, that's amazing, because when you think back of your genes and you have someone way down the line from the 1600s that you're related to, you still have the same genes. You still have the same traits that pushes you forward in life. Isn't that something else?
It really is. It really is. And and you're also launching a brand to honor your husband's side of the family, the Braxton
Braxton Gin. He's ecstatic about that. Right. I don't know if he's ecstatic, but it's because my kids are Braxtons. And yes, my husband's family are Tony, Trina, Tamar, all of that. I speak for Trina all the time. People always ask, are you related to Tony Braxton? It's not my blood, it's my husband's. So, but I'm very close to them. So, I speak with, Trina all the time. She and I are the closest. So I'm creating something for her too at my distillery. So you guys will definitely see something, coming from one of the Braxtons on that side. So yeah, I'm doing Braxton Gin and Gravesend Scotch to honor the name.
So cool. Such, so much to talk about. So little time, right? I mean, this already is longer, like one of the longer episodes we've had in 20 or 30 episodes. Yeah, usually we go just under 30 minutes. And I think we're probably at.
I thought you said an hour.
I take an hour to. I ask for an hour so we have some time before and after. But yeah, typical episodes is just under half an hour, and we've gone well beyond because there's so much cool stuff to talk about. And like you've got so much to share about your story and in terms of guidance for other people that are launching brands. Just didn't want
going into real estate too,
and get into real estate too, and you own many properties and
54 commercial properties.
54.
Yeah, liquor has been real good to me. Look, we're gonna have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. You got to get into other areas, but I'm trying to also help other people to do the same thing and build wealth. And use it. And you still need engineers for that. I was just meeting with some structural engineers today for one of my properties.
Yeah. 100%. Well, like I said, I mean, there's just so much, so many interesting things that are part of your journey and that you're doing now. We'll definitely need to continue this conversation.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And for now, though, if people want to learn more about you or get in touch with you, how they go about doing so?
Well, they can go to blackmommavodka.com, so that way they can see, Black Mom, they can buy it online for my next batch. or they can also go to blackmommateas.com, because, I blend the teas. I'm also the largest African-American woman-owned tea facility in the country. I have a huge facility. So we blend the teas. Remember, I make my vodka from teas. I make a chai tea vodka, green tea vodka, soursop tea vodka. So, those were, formulas that I created, and it's all natural. So, which is good. And the agaves, so, this helps employ communities. I'm very much into employing people from the Black and brown community. So if I can do my part as a manufacturer, I can help those communities that I'm manufacturing in. And we got to bring back manufacturing in the United States of America.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you got to bring back manufacturing, and it's just awesome that you help communities through.
That's where my real estate and my manufacturing is. So I got to hire the people from the community.
Yeah. Got it, so they can pay the rent.
I know. And get these brands out.
Again, Vanessa, so great having you on the programs. Thanks so much for taking the time, and we've got to continue this conversation. So thanks again.
Oh, anytime. I appreciate you having me. I'm here, Rich.
I know.
Richie Rich.
That's me.
Look, Richie Rich.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
No problem. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web at innovationsandbreakthroughs.com, and we'll see you next time.